Okay, guys, it is exactly 11 o'clock, and you know how punctual I like to be with these webinars and founder stories. I'm just going to do a couple housekeeping things up front. There are a couple ways you can reach out to us. One is the chat function, and two is the Q&A. We are recording these, so we will send out the recording afterwards, and it will also be available on Rev1's blog. We want these to be really interactive, so don't wait till the end to ask your questions, although we will reserve about 15 minutes at the end to make sure that we get to everyone's question. If we don't get to yours, we will respond to you via email. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Wayne Embry. He is our EVP of Investments and Venture Acceleration, and Jim Bratton, who is the CEO of Innovate IP. Innovate IP is a spinout of OSU, and Jim joins us from Oklahoma. Well, he's in Dublin now, but
I got here as quickly as I could.
So I'm going to let you two take it from here. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Heather. Just a little background real quick on this particular session, what we're doing. I have the privilege of being on Jim's board of directors, and in a call we had a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about specific activities and specific focus that Jim has right now on Innovate and what he's doing as a result of the economic and healthcare situation we find ourselves in with COVID, and how that's affecting his customer base in particular. And I'll let him describe that in a little more detail. But what came out of it was really an opportunity, I think, to share with other entrepreneurs and CEOs how to think about focus at a time like this, when it could seem like there's lots of things that you need to do, lots of things you could be doing, but what should you be doing? I felt really good about the conversation that Jim and I had. Thought it would be great to share with the rest of you, and just as an opportunity to get some dialogue going about how one thinks about priorities and then goes about managing to those priorities. So with that, Jim, do you want to give a little background and a little background on Innovate?
Sure. Yeah. So thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to the general conversation with everybody to learn more about how we can all survive and thrive in this environment. So so just a couple of comments on sort of framing what we're doing, and Wayne, interrupt me if I'm going off script. But our Heather mentioned we're a spin out of Ohio State. We make an enterprise platform for managing intellectual property assets created by research institutions. So think of faculty members at universities that invent things. Our software manages the patenting and licensing process for that for the universities. And we are a web native platform, and so one of the things that differentiates us from our competitors is that we are built for a distributed workforce. So COVID-19 has violently thrust the world into a paradigm that actually fits what we do and kind of how we're thinking about things. However, that doesn't mean everyone has rushed to our doorstep to buy our product. And what it's forced us to do, I think, is really shift from a forecast-based view of the world to a scenario-based view of the world. And this is kind of what Wayne and I were talking about, which is, pre-COVID, we would think about assumptions of the future that looked a lot like the past. And it's very clear that our immediate future doesn't at all look like our past. And I've adopted a couple of frameworks to just help me maybe expand my thinking and aware about what's important for our company. And I'll dive into that a little more later. But what's important for our company and what's important to our customers, by thinking about what are there are many unknowns there are many unknown unknowns, and what's unknown about them is the timing of when we will learn about them, and that's kind of what makes it difficult. So there's a group out in San Francisco called Trium, Trium, that's put together a nice toolkit for some scenarios that help, again, just sort of frame the thinking between, will we do a gradual recovery? Will it be fits and starts? Will we go to hell in a handbasket, or will we find the miracle cure out of the 61 vaccines that are in research right now, and we science the hell out of this and we're back to normal in September? And so thinking about in those scenarios, what does my company look like? What do my customers look like? What's the product market fit and the interface between what we do and what they need in those scenarios, and how can I find commonality to manage to it? Maybe just a couple of quick things about what we're doing differently, and what I think this means for our company. We're a software company, so we do a daily stand-up like most teams. Our stand-ups are a bit longer. We spend some time talking about not specifically about mental health, but we're just asking how's everybody doing. Ask about their kids. I have two people whose their spouses work in essential areas, and they have high exposure to people with COVID. So we talk about that, and what does that mean for your family, and what are you doing, and how's everybody getting along? And we talk about games that they're playing with their kids and things they're binge watching, and get trading notes about how to keep each other physically healthy and mentally healthy in under these circumstances. So I've sent care packages, and I'll just throw out a couple of shameless plugs for Toasted Oats, a Rev1 company. They make great product that makes people happy. Social Ventures of Columbus is another great source for a variety box that that sells products that have a social mission, and that's been very well received. So those are great. And Glen Avenue Soap Company, which is just south of Rev1, everybody needs soap right now, so it's a great thing to just send to the employees to let them know that I'm thinking about them. On the other side of it, we've made cuts in salary, so that wasn't easy to do, but we acknowledged that we're in a different world, and we need to lengthen our runway because our customers are not buying as much and as quickly, and we need to figure out how to survive. Obviously, we've offset that with some bonuses and other things, some success features, and beginning the conversation with our contractors about how do we manage that spend, not just decrease the number of hours we have, but actually get more productivity for less current pay, and how do we structure that for them? So haven't gotten through that conversation yet, and I'm eager to hear from others who are doing that. But mostly, where this thinking, this new sort of scenario-based planning has brought us is back to a lot of customer discovery or customer rediscovery. And so we've communicated with our customers about things that we're doing that we are initiating, which is things like we've taken some of these steps internally, but also we are reprioritizing the work that we're doing to support their prime mission and objectives. And so by that I mean, we've de-emphasized or deprioritized a lot of the minor bugs that need to be fixed, and we're trying to understand and think about how has their work environment changed and differed, and what are the things that we can do to make them be more successful in their jobs as their workers go back to their homes and work from home, and they're still trying to work in teams, and they're still trying to be productive. So a couple of things have come out of that. One, we've introduced some new features around search, and this is specific to us, but to help our customers access their databases better and in a broader way, and I could talk about that more specifically, but the point is this was not a real priority for us before COVID, but as inquiries to our customers have come in about what solutions do you have for COVID-19, they need to respond more quickly. So we've directed resources to that. We've deprioritized things like economic development impact reporting and other things that are nice to haves. We've also expanded out some features and really a new platform that connects networks of people that are stakeholders for our customers and helps them communicate better to mentor key players who are trying to advance products out of the university for research. I'll be honest, we haven't generated any revenue out of that. We think it's a good opportunity as an add-on and something that we will convert to revenue, but it's influenced our thinking about, again, back to what I was talking about for scenario planning. We think that there are scenarios where in the future people will be doing more remote working and people will need to collaborate in this digital format more. And so, how can we help our customers thrive in that environment? And what are the things that we can do to add to our platform to make it more usable and user friendly to a broader audience. So,
hey, Jim,
why don't I stop there? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, on that point exactly, when you look at the way Innovate was originally developed and implemented in most customers, it's kind of a hierarchical approach to it, in the sense of how customers use it, because of how most of your customers are set up as hierarchical organizations. But now that everybody's working distributed, they've got still the same mission but different needs. So can you talk about that a little bit in terms of that ability to provide that when you have now a literally distributed customer base, and they in turn are serving a distributed set of stakeholders? How did you take that into consideration in your thinking?
Yeah. So if you think about our customer, there's a central buying group called the Tech Transfer Office, but they interact, there are people within the Tech Transfer Office and then people outside the Tech Transfer Office as well. We've been working with them on how to leverage the platform more for the stakeholders outside of that. And we've spent time on training and on updating our documentation and enabling a lot of self-service among those people. I guess the other thing is that I think it's been a great opportunity for us to engage our customers specifically on this aspect of the tool. While it was a selling feature before, it wasn't intuitive to, it wasn't demanded, I guess maybe is a better way to put it, by our customers. And it's been an opportunity for us to reach into other groups within the university that were unaware of the potential use and application for the platform. So I don't know, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does, but I think it's actually worth drilling in a little deeper, because when you think about more specifically how higher level or people in the organization use the platform versus people lower in the level in the organization, and then access to people outside of tech commercialization in terms of that ability to distribute information and data.
Yeah.
Because it actually kind of creates a more sticky environment for the product going forward.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I sort of talked laterally, but vertically, right? So, our customers are very hierarchical, and many of the people at the top of the hierarchy don't necessarily use our platform every day, or they didn't pre-COVID-19. And it has been a necessary tool. They have found that they have had to adopt digital tools to interact with their customers. And so yes, so it's been interesting of talking with one of the leaders of one of our customers about just some specific, where do you find information in the platform that she had never known was available. And so I think this has been an opportunity to, my call to her was, hey, how are things going? How can we help you? What in your world has changed that I can help you with? And it turned into a bit of a customer discovery about how are they addressing COVID-19, but also a bit of just training of, let me share my screen with you and let me show you how to find things. And so it was a good opportunity for me to strengthen that relationship higher up in the organization with a pretty important customer.
Great. One of the things that I know will come to a surprise to anybody who's been involved with a startup in the past is that the fact that the initial version of the product had some tech debt. Can you talk about having a bit of a breather and how you think about, again, your priority is on the core product itself, and what does it mean to
Okay, looks like Winnie is cutting out a little bit. Jim, I think his question is going down the path
and
tech debt. So
for making that.
Yeah. So the tech debt, yes, we had a little bit of tech debt, but yeah. So we as we've gone through our stand up and gone through our Trello cards and our backlog, we have done a massive shift about prioritizing, things that can help our customer today from a distributed, thinking about that future scenario of distributed workforce. How can we empower them more? But also in the tech debt, we have gone through and prioritized some things that are, that are not essential, or deprioritized some things that are not essential, but also reprioritize some things that really really are much more foundational about what we need to fix. And we're finding that time, again, one of the helpful things about this scenario has been that we have been able to stop doing the little bugs that and by little bugs I mean where people say, this button should say remove, not delete, things like that we might have spent an hour and a half discussing the pros and cons of those things. We just look at it and we say, does it help cure COVID-19, or does it help our customer talk to one another? And if it doesn't meet those criteria, then we're not doing it. But when we think about the free time that we have, or the space that we have, that's what we're doing some housekeeping, I guess, and prioritizing that housekeeping. Yeah.
And actually talk about that a little bit. You actually created a COVID-19 element to the workflow. Why did you do that, and how have customers reacted to that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So we have, our the context is our customers create records in our database that describe inventions. So if the invention has something related to COVID-19, then we created a tag for it, which, but we also enable our customers to create special tags. So they can subclassify things under COVID-19 in the way that makes sense to them. We also, I mentioned a little bit about this search feature. So we introduced a text search, and the way it works best is when is when users upload more than just keywords to the record. So they can upload manuscripts, they can upload data, they can upload anything that has words in it, and or numbers or whatever. But we allow the search feature we've introduced is more than just specific tag search, and this has been really productive at a couple of universities where they are actively engaged in a variety of applications in COVID-19, from therapies to diagnostics to medical devices that are being used and actually produced right now. I mean, they're one of our customers has built some face masks that they have licensed to somebody for production. So so we built these specific COVID-19 categories of tags, but also enabled our customers to use those in ways that made sense to them and help them be productive in that moment, if you will.
So one of the things we talk about a lot at Rev 1 are the knowable unknowns, and you made a good really good description of what it's like to look at all the unknowable unknowns. Now, there's something about your background that I know that probably most other people don't, and how that kind of unknown must really chafe. And so, how did you deal with with kind of sorting that out? The fact that you're dealing with all these unknowns and using that to prioritize the business and the relationships with the customers.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is it's just first accepting that the difference between what you can control, what you can influence, and what you can't control, and really being brutally honest with yourself about what you can do. And it's the difference between sort of being prepared and scrambling and being flexible. In Boy Scouts, so I'm an Eagle Scout and active in the Scouts here, and we often you plan your weekend outing or your trek or whatever, but something's going to happen that you don't expect, and so it's accepting that when you face that moment, you're prepared to react, right? And so that what you have are the skills to scramble and be flexible. And so I think that's kind of how we've looked at it as a team. Is we don't know when this will end. We don't really know what our customers will look like when they get back to work. I mean, part of what one of the things our platform does is introduces labor efficiencies in our customers, and it's difficult at this time to sort of talk about that by deploying our platform you don't need as many people, but it has an economic truth to it, and so we're trying to figure out how to help our teams adapt to and redeploy, and if they come out on the other end with less resources, then we're still there to support them and help them grow, and so it's part of that. How do you scramble and be flexible in this environment and ensure that you're ready to thrive on the other end?
How have you been able to, or have you been able to, I guess, help your customers think through some of this? Because I can imagine, like I said, none of us have experienced anything like this, but you've had a long business career, and you've been through down markets, and you've been through these kinds of situations in the past. Are there ways you're able to actually help your customers kind of think through their own issues and priority setting?
Yeah, so we've offered a deeper deeper communication with them about their processes and workflows, because our has some workflow elements to it. And I think this continues. I think we will find those when 3 weeks ago, people were still very discombobulated and adapting. And I think now we are approaching a time where the conversation is less about how can we help you settle down and focus on your job today. And we're approaching a time where we might be able to talk to them about what are the things that your team is doing. And, back to your conversation about hierarchical status, right? So the management team, how are you managing your team differently now, not just temporarily, but now in a semi-permanent state? How are you and when we all get back to the office, how will you manage your team differently? And so, I think that we're approaching that time where those conversations will be very, very useful and informative to us about what are the digital needs of our customers and their stakeholders, because our platform is all about the connection and the communication and enabling the right person to be able to do the right thing with the asset. And I think that's going to be very influential to us as we back to sort of fixing tech debt. What do we fix and what don't we fix, and how is that informed by the needs of those customers?
You talked earlier about the rolling out a new adjacent product in the mentoring space. Talk about introducing new products to customers in a time when they're still in shell shock, for lack of a better term.
It's kind of funny. So on the plus side, lots of people have responded. So we're doing some customer discovery / marketing both. So we're still finishing the product, trying to inform ourselves about what the market needs are, and then also making people aware that we're doing this. The response has been very high and very fast. I send out a mailer and I get a very high response rate very quickly, which was kind of shocking. So that's been good. It's also been good to learn that there's a need for this, which is also good. The bad news is nobody knows what their budget is going to be, next month or next year. These groups don't. They operate on fiscal years, and so they're and their source of fundings are in question. So the good news is there's lots of opportunity for building the customer relationship in terms of understanding through that customer discovery process of tell me what you're doing and what are the pains and gains that you want, and developing this source of contacts. The challenge has been just the sales cycle is going to be long, I think, for that. Having said that, for a digital product that whose purpose is to connect people and facilitate communication, again, I think COVID has violently thrust the world towards this type of structure and framework. And to the extent your product or service connects people with information more efficiently, and it's going to add value. So the good news is there's been demand for it. It's tough sledding on again back to that forecast planning versus scenario planning, right? It's very just people are uncertain about what their budgets are going to look like and what they want to commit to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this could change the nature of higher education and research universities for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is writ large, right? Universities and anybody that, particularly large state-funded research universities, but anybody that counts on funding from a legislature or funding from students, right? It's going to be tough. I think federally funded research will continue, so that as a source of revenue will be high, but lots of people talking about taking, I mean, my own daughter who's a sophomore in college her friends are talking about maybe I'll take a gap year if I'm just going to do online education next year. Mm-hmm. So that's a big, it could be a big shift, but again, back to the unknown unknowns, we won't really know until the summer. And some of these things, and you all are probably finding this out, have kids and people are signing up for summer camp, and I'm scratching my head about, like, how are they going to go to summer camp? But these things take time to plan, and so if your forecast is, we're going to be back in summer camp, you're going to be back in school, you have to start several months in advance to do that. So,
yeah. Well, you also, spent quite a few years working, at a research university. How does one go about doing a lot of the work that's done in research universities in a virtual way?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in some respects, they're doing what we're doing, right? They're doing a lot of conferences and stuff. Having talked to some of my colleagues, in some respects, things have gotten a lot more efficient because the need to gather 16 deans and 12 department chairs for things has decreased a little bit. The bar for calling a meeting is a lot higher, and so to some extent, some people's time has been freed up a lot from that respect. The flip side of it is, a lot of decisions are just not being made, and it's been difficult for some people to know, and particularly around budget issues, what they can spend and what they can't. And I think also some of them are quite legitimately probably facing some layoffs or reductions in salary, and there are going to be some disruption to the general workforce. So, but I think the interesting thing has been to talk to some of the senior administrators that they don't have the random faculty member walking into their office screaming about something, and they're not having the what they would consider the less mission critical meetings that they used to have, and so they're finding time to think more about some really pressing strategic issues that they're going to face probably in the next couple of months.
Well, I want to make sure that we open this up for questions and get other people chiming in. So others with questions, please.
There is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And then there's also a chat function. Use either one to ask questions, and I will be happy to monitor for those and make sure that we're getting those in. One question came in. You mentioned, Jim, that you are developing some new features based on feedback from your clients. How did you arrive at those decisions? Can you deep dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so we don't have a real formal rubric, but the things that we consider are, is this something for one customer or for many? Can we make this for everybody? Secondly, is it important today? I mean, does it help our customers be more efficient and effective, or does it, in that same vein, does it help address something specifically related to COVID-19 that can accelerate some process? And so that's kind of how we've been approaching these things, and we've just put them in the Trello swim lanes and go through the grooming process, and we try to be we try to be very self-disciplined about this might be fun to work on, but it's not important to work on, or this might be important, but it's not urgent, and we're trying to really be intellectually honest about that. So I hope that answers the question.
One of the things that's always, you talked about this a little bit, going through the process of deciding what not to do as a business, because it's every bit as important as deciding what to do. I imagine some of the what to not do were easy, though maybe not fun. But talk about that side of the equation as well.
Yeah. So one that we've been noodling on a long time, that we've wanted to do for a long time, is integrate docketing information. So the USPTO provides information about patent statuses. It's important to our customers to know the status of their patents. It seems like it would be simple just to build an API. It's not. So I'll leave it at that.
Isn't there a .gov after you?
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's something that we really wanted to do for a long time, because it fits into that category of it makes our customers much more efficient. It's a lot of value that is added to them. It reduces a lot of labor, not just the time to enter the data, but also the potential of bad data or data errors. But that's something that even after we've sunk a lot of time and energy into this and built out a lot of schema for going about it, and have a partner that wants to do it. But we don't. We have to look through to the sort of the demand side, and on a forecast based modeling, we would assign some probability to that this is going to increase our customer base, this is going to accelerate our sales or whatever. But I just don't. It's hard to put that in the scenario based planning, that if I took my developers off of search, off of COVID, off of just doing some training for the department chair for chemistry to find whatever they're looking for conflicts of interest on this research project, right? That we wouldn't be able to really address the immediate needs of our customers. So that's been one that and the team was very excited about. I mean, it's a very geeky, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, it's a good software nerdy thing to do this, and they were pretty pumped about the challenge of it. But you kind of look at the value versus the priority. It was it was a no regret decision, even though it was a hard one. I mean, it was a disappointing one. That's probably a better way to put it. So,
how do you think about your planning going back to work? I mean, you've got a lot of developers on your team, and as a lot of us know, a lot of those folks can be introverts, so working from home is probably just fine by them.
Yeah, happier than they've ever been, right?
Exactly. But when you think about going back to the office and the reintegration, again, it's unknowns that we're wrestling with as well, things we just don't know. How are you beginning to think about that?
Yeah, I've thought through. There, and even my most introverted people in the team would admit that there's value of being in the room with their colleagues when talking about things. That despite Zoom and what it's enabled, there's just it's just not the same. And there are times, particularly when we're brainstorming about how to solve problems and to map out things, just the loss of the visual, right? And we haven't found, if anybody knows of a good tool that's the current share your whiteboard, I'd love to know what it is, because we haven't found it. But the common whiteboard is really powerful. So to answer your question though, we've thought about that, obviously we'd love some testing and whatnot. We haven't, I mean, I think it's masks and social distancing and bring your own markers and, that kind of thing if we end up in that place. And and it's not 5 days a week. It's as needed or on occasion, if we get there. But we're not there yet. But I think again, even the most, I think many of the, if you polled my team, I think they'd say that it would be helpful to be back in the room with each other at least a couple times. Maybe during grooming, maybe during demo and retro, something like that. So, but it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Heather, any other questions?
Yeah, one more. So are you reaching out to new potential clients? If so, how are you doing that?
Yes, so I am. I'm doing it more strategically more tactically, maybe is a better way, sort of one-on-one, sort of following up with folks that have been in our pipeline. And just for an example, I watched a webinar presentation by some university officials about, not specifically about tech transfer and how they're adopting, but something else. And there was somebody who made a comment, and I just reached out to her specifically about her comment. And so I've done that, and that's been successful. Right now, our marketing is more, it's toned down is maybe a good way to put it. And it's more about stories about how we're supporting our customers or things we're doing to help them be successful, as opposed to think about our new feature or think about this specific thing we're promoting. So it's been a more muted and specific approach in that respect.
Great. And we did receive another question in our Q&A. From your experience working within a university and working with universities now, along with your comment about administrators being more strategic, do you get the sense that institutions will be more reactive now to online platforms if it proves and demonstrates efficiencies in problem solving? And then a follow-up question to that is, do you feel they would be more willing to pay for that, for a quicker turnaround than meeting after meeting after meeting?
Yeah. I think the answer is yeah. Actually, can I see the question again? Sorry.
Oh.
Can you? I just want to make sure oh wait, maybe it's here. Maybe I can see it.
Yeah, it's under answered. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, actually, this brings up a really good point that's specific to us. The question about, do you feel like they would be willing to pay for a quicker turnaround rather than killing? Yes, meaning yes. I think the answer is yes. If you offer a solution that is a relatively quick onboarding process and deployment process, I think they would be receptive to it. Not every university, but I think if you found the right university, they would be receptive to it. One of the challenges we face is that we are moving a lot of legacy data over, and if you don't have to do that, because that offers risk, right, and disruption of moving legacy data. If you don't have to do that, then I would say I think universities are trying to move more quickly than they used to in the past to be responsive, and they are like a goldfish in a swimming pool looking for a wall, and if you can guide them to an efficient solution, I think they'd be receptive to it. And I think I'll just one last thing, I think for things that are important to them, they are moving a lot more quickly.
So Jim, we've got two great quotes from you today. Goldfish in a swimming pool and science the hell out of it. So thank you for that.
Use them with alacrity.
We will. Those are all the questions that I had. And if we don't have any others, I'll turn it back over to Heather.
Great, thank you. And thank you both. Thank you to everyone that joined today. as I said, we will be recording. We have recorded this, and we will be sending out the recording to everyone that attended, as well as on our blog. So visit Rev1's blog to see the recap of this meeting, and thank you all for joining. We will join again in 2 weeks. And Mary says, thanks to all. Jen was awesome. So thank you, Mary.
Good.
Thank you.
Everyone have a wonderful day. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jim.
Yeah, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.